Hey, this is Big Jang. You may remember me from documentaries such as This is Bankstown and Youth of Bankstown. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to identify causes and prevent Aboriginal youth from committing crime. Before I start the discussion, I would like to inform you that I am not an Aboriginal, and therefore the stuff I say today is based on my own opinion and what I have been taught before. And therefore, if you have any suggestions or any questions, please leave a comment below and I will get back to you later. There are a wide range of reasons to explain why many Indigenous Australian youth have been involved in crime throughout the years. Some of these causes may involve discrimination, stigma, stereotypes and financial difficulties, or even a lack of parental assistance. The topic of Aboriginal youth and their involvement in crime takes back to the historical context of Indigenous Australians and issues that have risen after the colonization of Australia. There is also a need to explore their current status in modern-day Australian society with links to their family backgrounds. Throughout Australian history, Indigenous Australians have been victims of racial discrimination and cultural genocide. Many of the racial issues affecting Aboriginal people today may have been the result of such events. For example, the stolen generation, which has brought upon a series of destruction towards the spirituality and diverse culture of the Indigenous Australians. Due to a loss of culture, there has been the ongoing stigma within the wide community, which has resulted in crime and conflict among Aboriginal youth living within mainstream society. Unlike other ethnics born overseas, Aboriginal people were born on this land. Therefore, they are able to feel a sense of connection between themselves and their land, which is Australia. This means they have strong pride in their homeland and their culture, and they may have a strong resistance against changes in their way of life. They may be reluctant to accept Western culture and other influences from the outside world that is outside their culture. This has been proven throughout the past. Many Indigenous Australians have struggled for their land rights, just like many other natives from other countries who have suffered from foreign domination, who have also fought for their independent rights. It is not unusual that Indigenous people find it hard to accept change. As many will understand, no ethnic group would allow their culture to be taken away from them, just like white Australians wouldn't allow themselves to be dominated by other ethnics. Therefore, it is not unusual that there will be a struggle between cultural groups and communities to determine one's cultural rights, or perhaps human rights. Again, speaking of change and acceptance, it is a human instinct to be resistant. As they say, nobody likes to be told what to do. Therefore, it can be understandable that everyone may have their own rebellious side. Therefore, it can be understandable that everyone may be rebellious in some way. Protest can be carried out in many ways when one feels that his or her rights have been violated or that something is wrong. Some might display a peaceful form of protest, while others might show more aggression, depending on one's attitude and experience. When it comes to experiencing changes that result in the loss of certain things that may be important to someone, resistance is something that can definitely be seen as an expected outcome, no matter how much power the authority figure might have against the individual or individuals. There is still a chance of struggle against the odds. Like they say, boys will be boys. Everyone has their own way of life. When it is disturbed, a form of protest is likely to be carried out as a result of that disturbance, and the level of impact will depend on the protesters' strength and ability to confront change. Going back to the main topic regarding Aboriginal youth and crime, It is hard to convince an adult to change his or her ways of life without interrupting his or her belief system. It can be even harder for young people to accept changes in their lifestyle, since young people have been seen to have a stronger passion of resisting change. They will challenge their authority figures until they gain the respect they desire. This doesn't just apply to Aboriginal youth, but youth from all over the world. For example, some kids don't like growing up because they believe adulthood may lead to more difficulties and further loss of childhood freedom. Some kids find it hard to study hard without reducing their own time for play. No matter what kind of bureaucratic system they live under, everyone, not just kids, but every individual has a rebellious way of thinking. In other words, an independent thinking process. Even though human rights for Indigenous Australians have been improved over the years, there is still a struggle between many Aboriginal youth and the legal system. Figuratively speaking, these present issues may be the scars left over by the humiliation experienced by the older generation. The issue regarding Aboriginal youth and their involvement in crime has been a controversial argument. Some say that Aboriginal kids have been misunderstood, treated unfairly by mainstream society, and don't have the same access to social benefits as other ethnics do, while others may say they are just troublemakers who lack discipline. Issues like these are debatable because there are downfalls from both sides which have resulted in this matter. When discussing this issue, there are structuralist and pluralist viewpoints that may bring about different statements and suggestions based on why Indigenous youth are involving themselves in crime. Even though many might say Indigenous Australians have more privileges within the community while they have access to free education and welfare support programs. However, there might be other needs that are still unrecognized. For example, perhaps not all Indigenous Australians have the benefits in society. A more holistic approach may be required. The difficulty in identifying causes is that not all Aboriginal youth suffer from the same issues which lead them into crime. Some may have involved themselves in crime due to a lack of access and equity, while some may have other reasons such as peer pressure and poor parenting, etc. However, one thing is for sure, welfare support is needed in order to prevent the uprising of youth in crime. Not just Indigenous Australian youth, but youth in general. In terms of law, discipline alone cannot resolve the struggle between Aboriginal youth and the legal system. As mentioned above, everyone has a rebellious side, which means that everyone has a way of showing resistance, and when they feel that their rights are abused, they would show a form of protest against the superior figure. This is not just a human instinct. Even when animals feel threatened, they would either attack or show some kind of defense. Since the Stone Age, humans have been known to defend their territory and their right to exist. Therefore, this type of behavior can be expected if someone tries to enforce changes in order to achieve compliance.